Well, welcome everybody. This is Keith Jowers with Dads for Life, and we are here for another attempt at doing this show tonight. This is our Friday Night Live show, part of the Dads Radio Network, and we are part of the Dads for Life organization. We are starting some new things in May, and well, one of the things that we have started working with and trying out is this new HAPS app, and we're so excited to be a part of HAPS and it is growing so fast. So if you haven't checked out HAPS, if you are actually a broadcaster or you want to listen to broadcasters that you might have heard on other platforms, like Periscope, which is no longer with us, but you can follow them on HAPS. And you can go right there to my profile and see even an invite link. You can invite into this organization and learn a lot from all these wonderful broadcasters on HAPS. So tonight we're going to be talking about second chances equals second acts. I remember that there's a definition to being in a second act. Basically, it's something a person devotes his or her life to after returning or quitting their original occupation. They could retire, and they say, "Well, what am I going to do now?" And they think about what they're going to go do the next half of their life or the rest of their life, and they may start another career or maybe a part-time job they've been working on, and they decide they want to go into it full time. Well, I can tell you that no matter what you're calling your second act, um, it's good to know that there is always a second chance to start the second act. Now, what I mean by that is I've met folks in all the counseling that I have done and over the years, whether it be, um, you know, someone that has don't know what career to go into after they leave their job, or maybe that they, don't know where to go after a terrible financial decision they made. But when I talk to them, I try to tell them, well, as long as you're breathing, you've got another chance. You've got another chance to make it right the second time around or third time around or sometimes even longer than that, right? Fourth or fifth time around. It's just that when you look back on your life sometimes, you look at all the failures, don't we? We don't look at the positive things we've done all the time. I've met folks who don't wish to go back to that stage of life. They don't wish to go back and look at what they have accomplished because there are some folks that feel like they haven't accomplished a whole lot. But I say to those folks that life is just too short to quit. Comfort zones are not always comfortable, are they? When you think it's curtains on your life, basically, is that you can't do anything else to help anybody. You can't do anything to encourage anybody else. You need to think again because as long as you're breathing, you certainly can help someone if you try. Now, how do I know that? Because I'm in my second act now. I've wanted to quit and exit stage left many times in the things that I've done and tried to do and wanted to do, but for some reason, even with our ministry Dads for Life, I can tell you that there's been times in the past of these 17 years that I've thought about quitting. I was wondering, okay, what am I really doing out here? Am I really helping anybody? Am I really encouraging anybody? And that we just don't know. You just keep doing it and seeing if you are, helping someone. If you are, then it's going to come back to you later, if not sooner. The story I was on a mission trip. Story I want to tell you is I was on a mission trip back in the 90s and I had walked into the restroom when I was at the airport and was washing my hands and I turned around and a lady was coming to that restroom and she looked at me kind of strangely and she didn't even smile or anything. She just walked right by me and I said, okay, then maybe she's having a bad day or whatever. And thinking that maybe this country that I was in allowed men and women to use the same facility. I don't know. So when I looked back at the restroom as I exited, I noticed that I had walked into the ladies' restroom. And sure enough, with this embarrassment that I was feeling on my face and not sure if anybody else was around me was even noticing that or not, I realized that I had made a mistake. You see, I believe in life there are slip ups and there are mess ups, and sometimes there's blow ups. I mean, really things that we've really screwed up, right? So, and you have to look at the mistake you've made and move on. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about those three types of mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what age you are, you've made mistakes, are making mistakes, or will make mistakes at some point in your life. And some are minor and some are major. But all God's children make mistakes. And undoubtedly, in um, our circle of influence that we're around, or the people in our family, or the people we work with, you can pretty much know that everyone in that circle of influence around you has made a mistake at some point in their life. So, and a lot of them are whoppers to where they haunt them for a long period of time. I think that when we make big mistakes that we can't seem to forget ourselves or forgive ourselves for, sometimes we really need to spend some time in prayer and see what God thinks about them. I'm talking about whopper mistakes like a choice to invest more in your career than in your family. And there's an old song from the 70s, 1974, by Harry Chapin called Cats in the Cradle. And Dads for Life is here to encourage, enhance, and enrich dads in what we consider their greatest asset on earth, and that's their children. But unfortunately, a lot of times I have counseled with dads and talked with dads that really, well, they didn't spend a lot of time with their kids, and their kids are grown now. And they think back that there is no chance of making up anytime. Another opportunity that of making a big mistake is that you've squandered um, big opportunities in your life because of sheer laziness, or a decision to stay in a relationship that you should have ended a long time ago, or maybe you didn't stay in a relationship that you should have stayed in a long time ago. Those are big mistakes. A poor financial decision that threatens your future security, and an innocent friendship that might develop into something more than it really intended to be. Those are some examples of big mistakes, blow ups. You see, friends, everyone makes mistakes. And even when there are doozies, like the ones I just mentioned, you can rebound from those mistakes. You can recover from those mistakes. And you can have a chance, a second chance, to start or continue working your second act in life. There's a well known children's show that was on for many years called Sesame Street. And its main character was Big Bird. And Big Bird would always say, everybody makes mistakes. Here are some mistakes that probably the folks involved with it wish they might not have made this mistake. One was Decca Records. They turned down a little European group once called the Beatles. Numerous movie studios turned down a movie plot that was made called Star Wars. You see, there was even a book that was written by Stephen Powell, and it was called The Incomplete Book of Failures. But when it was actually released originally, it was noticed that 2 pages were left out of that book. So it's called The Incomplete Book of Failures, but 2 pages were left out of that book. Mistakes tend to come in 3 sizes, as I mentioned. And those are slip ups and mess ups and blow ups. But let's break them down. A slip up could be like, well, I have livestock and I sometimes forget to turn off my water trough and it makes a lake out where the cows would normally be drinking water. And a little inconvenient and somewhat aggravating that I have done that, I can tell you that it will all dry up and it's just a little slip up. I made that mistake. A mess up could be something like, well, they could have a little bit more painful consequences, couldn't they? It could be a financial blunder that you knew wasn't the best idea, but you did it anyway. My wife and I have facilitated many financial classes at our church. And one night during one of our classes several years ago, a couple walked in, and that couple, I could tell, had had an issue before they came to our class that night. And when it came around to their turn to speak, they finally admitted to it. And actually, the husband had saved up a little money, as we taught them to do, in saving. And then he decided that he wanted a big toolbox. So he bought this big toolbox. Now, I don't know what kind of tools he had, but it was $3,000 toolbox. And he had saved up $3,500 for their family emergency fund during our class. Well, that week that he bought that toolbox, come to find out that their drain field had started messing up and they needed a new drain field. And the cost of that drain field was $3,500. So that's a big mess up there financially and the friction that it caused in that marriage. Now let's talk about blow-ups. Blow-ups are those monumental mistakes that we make that seem to carry unending negative consequences. And these types can be inappropriate relationships that we have with a friend at work. These also can be terrible mistakes that you make financially where it really sets your family back a long time. But these type of mistakes take really time to heal, don't they? And sometimes they need some counseling to go along with them for that healing process. But see, I believe that the Lord can heal many mistakes that we make. But it's our individual relationships with another that may cause that friction because of that mistake that may take some time to heal. But sometimes even those most painful mistakes that we make, my friends, we make them with not intending to make them, but when they happen, well, we realize at some point maybe we shouldn't have made them. But what we do or fail to do to correct them is the key sometimes in moving on from that mistake. Missed opportunities. It's like spending your money and never saving for the future. You know, Grandma called it a rainy day fund. Well, just like the gentleman that spent all his money on our toolbox, he needed that rainy day fund for that drain field. We know there's a storm coming, so you need to save for that rainy day, don't we? There's forfeited opportunities. We cannot turn back the clock. We've forfeited those opportunities for the future. And if we could turn back the clock sometimes, we would do that. If we could just stop it for a time, when we're going through a difficult time, and maybe not continue on the frustration that is causing us, but we can't do that either, can we? But what if we could turn back the time a month, a year, maybe a decade or two? Would it be worth it? Or would the valuable lesson that we learned from that mistake is more important? Sometimes I think that's the right answer. There was a 1996 movie with Lauren Bacall and Barbara Streisand. It was called The Mirror Had Two Faces. And there was, in this particular movie, Lauren Bacall was talking to Barbara Streisand, her daughter. Don't forget, can't remember their names. But there was a line that Lauren Bacall said that was really catchy if you listen to the movie line. And she said, "It's an awful thing to look back on your life and realize that you've settled. The problem was that I always thought I had more time. Now I feel young, like a kid again. Just the beginning, but I know that I don't." So, see, you can feel good and like a kid again, like you want to start all over again, but you know you don't have that time to make up. But when we mess up, or we slip up, or we have a big blow up, we can always be forgiven, first by God, and hopefully by the person that it was involving. You see, my friends, we can't go back in time. Or can we? Mistakes at any level are forgivable. And when I say, can we go back in time? Well, we can't physically, but we can spiritually. All we have to do is ask. Why do we consistently experience slip ups and mess ups and blow ups in our lives? What is inside of us that pulls us towards those choices in life that we make? Well, in one word, is sin. Well, Paul writes in the New Testament, which is our scripture for tonight, Romans 3:23, "For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God." The word simply means we missed the mark. In other words, all of us, no matter who we are, we want to do right sometimes, but we don't. And no matter how much money we have in the bank or in our stock investment portfolio, it doesn't matter if you live in a 300 square foot home or a 3,000 square foot home. Doesn't matter if we're driving a car that you pray gets you to work every day, or a brand new, whatever the top of the line car is for you. We all miss the mark. We all mess up. And Jesus is the only one that can straighten out our crooked path, our toxic life, and our sinful nature. That's how we can have a second chance, or sometimes a 500th chance, right? But we know that He can help us have a good second act at whatever age we are. And I'm climbing that ladder pretty quick, it seems. But all we have to do is ask. And it's in His asking, or in the asking, that we receive the gift of eternal life. And all you have to say is a simple prayer. Just ask the Lord to forgive you of your sins, come into your heart, and make your path straight. And He will do that. Friends, He'll forgive us of all of our slip ups, all of our mess ups, and all of our blow ups. And all we have to do is ask Him. We can't turn back the clock, but we can look forward to the future and allowing Him to give us a new life, a new start. So, what about it? In your slip ups, mess ups, and blow ups, have you given up? Do you think there's no other hope for you out there? I can assure you there is. I want to tell you that Dads for Life is here as a nonprofit organization for the last 17 years to do all that we can to encourage parents. And our message, our focus is on dads and fatherhood because we have a terrible fatherless group of children growing up and that has grown up over the last few decades. And we're doing what we can to help change and encourage dads to be involved in every aspect they can with their children. Because we know that involvement is the key. Positive involvement is definitely the key that opens up doors to relationships with your children. Promises to be somewhere with them and never showing up, that's not good. Because it only shows that it's okay to break promises. But being there with them when you every chance you get at their school events or sporting events, whatever it is, even if you don't even get a chance to talk a whole lot that day, it shows that you're there and supporting them and what they do. We are now in our 17th year and we're continuing to grow. Come May 1st, we're going to start a couple new programs. One is actually going to be the Dad's Garage Show. We're pretty excited about that. Where we're going to be talking about restoration a lot. We may be talking about restoring your car, restoring your career, restoring your relationship at home, restoring your relationship with your kids. Because in the garage, we can fix a lot of things. So we just have to make sure that we're doing what we can to increase our skills in fixing those items. We're also starting the Dad's Radio Network, and we're going to be actually speaking with other dad organization founders that are building the fatherhood message out there in a positive way. I don't have all the answers. I just know that through all of my experience of working with parents and kids that, well, there's a lot of encouragement needed. And by those organizations that are doing that, I want to promote them as well. And the Dad's Radio Network is also going to have a radio show. We are working on that. It's an internet radio show, and we are excited for the opportunities that will bring us at Dads for Life. So I thank you for your time tonight. Check us out at dadsforlife.com. You go to my name, keithjowers.com, and it'll lead you to the same spot. And check us out back in May because we're hoping to kick off our new website, our new show, and our new radio station May 1st. So God bless each and every one of you. Until next time, this is Keith Jowers saying, go out and enhance, encourage, and enrich the life of someone today or tomorrow. Make sure you start with your children because they truly do need it the most. And let your children know that home is the safest place for them to ever be. May God bless you. Bye-bye.